Thank you everybody for your time. I think we're starting a little bit early, but want to say a huge thank you to the ambassador and his team that's come here today to cement the working relationship which we started back in October. We had a discussion on the timeline of where things started, the 21st of October, I think, which transformed into a small team over Christmas and New Year, spending that time visiting the different ministries. And since it's only been 5 weeks since we've been back, and we've made a huge amount of progress, which I'll tell you in detail in the all hands in the next couple of days. But we've made a huge amount of progress in terms of setting operations up in Addis Ababa, and it's all thank you to the ambassador Biruk here, and his team that's helped us move so quickly and look at a new operational and sales center in Africa. Over to you, Ambassador, to say hello to the team, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And thank you, Dan, for inviting me and my team to this amazing place. Our acquaintance as a business and subsequent engagements, including today's visit, is really remarkable, so to say. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be here with you today to highlight some of the opportunities in my country. But before I speak about Ethiopia, allow me to set the scene on Africa's context, because really Africa is a promising continent, and for sure you love to hear the story about Africa. It's a next growth pillar. So I want to set that scene for you. This is important because Ethiopia is a leading player in many African issues and a gateway to Africa. So Africa is not a continent, it's an idea, it's a vision, and it's a promise. You will understand why I said these really catchy words. With 1.3 billion people, abundant resources, and a young workforce, it has the potential to shape the future of a global trade, technology, and innovation. It's a continent of the world's largest free trade area, known as Africa's Continental Free Trade Area, the largest trade agreement in the world by the number of participating countries. Over the next 3 decades, the region will experience the fastest increase in the working age of population of all regions. It is the youngest continent, 60 to 70% of the population, which I refer the number 1.4 billion. It's a younger generation. So in the next decade, you can imagine how the opportunity that can be created, with a projected net increase of 740 million people by 2050. Up to 12 million youth will enter the labor market abroad the region every year in the coming decades, showing the critical importance of creating opportunities, especially investing on human capital. Generally, the continent has a potential to forge a new development path, harnessing the potential of its resources and people. On Ethiopia, I'm not sure how much of you know before today. For those who know of Ethiopia, I doubt you were told the real story coming out of the country. The general narrative, we were talking about the media narration about Africa, about Ethiopia, but the general narrative in the media has been about one of the poorest countries in Africa, conflict-ridden, impoverished, and unstable. This is really completely contrary to the reality of Ethiopia. You probably have heard little to none about the fact that Ethiopia is one of the oldest civilizations in Africa, that it is a land of origin, including the origin of humankind, and a drink we probably love to have first thing in the morning, coffee, that it is one of the few places in the world where the three Abrahamic religions coexist peacefully and thrive. It is also a resilient nation that has shown its immense capacity by building, among others, the largest dam in Africa and owning the largest airline in the world. Given the time constraints, I will not be able to tell you all about this. I'll focus on economic issues. It's an exciting time for us. Ethiopia is at a critical juncture. The government embarks on the implementation of a comprehensive economic reform that promises to create a potential success story in Africa. The major shifts in the reform strategies, one taken by the government, to move to an economy driven by the private sector. That's where companies like Kagool really bring change in this new perspective or direction of the economic reform programs in Ethiopia. So we have been pursuing a public sector driven approach, relying largely on public investments. However, it has become evident that this model carries constraints that hinder the country's ability to realize its ambition of building a prosperous nation. So the goal of the economic reform is aimed to make the government more of a grown engine that's the driver of the economy. As a result, we have started observing promising outcomes that reflect its path to a positive trajectory in the coming years. There are different economic sectors from agriculture, mining, technology, tourism. These are critical areas really identified by the government and given a priority to implement the economic reform. We can touch all these sectors while we are discussing the Q&A session, but I just want to focus on the startup and the economy sector because that's the engine of the economic reform that we are pursuing in Ethiopia. So Ethiopia is a country in motion, constantly evolving, where tradition and innovation do not just coexist, but fuel each other. For example, Addis Ababa, a headquarter of African Union and formerly known for its government offices, embassies and NGO quarters, now hums with the energy of coders, founders and investors, shaping the future of Africa's tech industry. The startup ecosystem in Ethiopia, once a quiet undercurrent, has gained momentum, fueled by a young, ambitious workforce and an increasing appetite for homegrown digital solutions. Government-backed initiatives like the Ethiopian Startup Act signal a recognition of tech potential. International investors like Kagool taking notice, drawn by a market eager for digital solutions and a talent pool proving its global competitiveness. The various measures taken by the government, such as adoption of the Digital 2025 strategy, its active support through the Ministry of Innovation and Technology and other relevant institutions for the growth of the ecosystem and the establishment of the 200-hectare ICT park dedicated to ICT-based startups and the liberalization of the telecom sector became game changers. The expansion of internet connectivity also unlocks opportunities for entrepreneurs across the country. Education is also playing a crucial role here. Universities throughout the country are churning out tech-savvy graduates and ready to tackle the challenge of digital economy. So generally, the tech sector and the startup ecosystem is on the rise, propelled by a supportive government, growing markets, tech-savvy population, and a burgeoning culture of innovation. However, there are some challenges. in accessing finance, particularly for startups and SMEs, as well as skill gaps. These are identified gaps that are that we are looking to collaboratively address and really harness the opportunities in the various sectors in Ethiopia. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much. That's a really good overview. So Ethiopia, Sonia, Ethiopia is undergoing a significant amount of strategic industrial transformation across a number of different sectors, with energy, technology you mentioned, financial services. Can you summarize specifically what's happening for my colleagues, which might not be close to what exactly is happening? You mentioned the hydroelectric dam, other examples.
Yes, as I said, the direction of the economy we have been taking for the past 5 decades was government-led direction. So every sector of the economy was closed, and now this government, after taking office in 2018, came up with an economic reform program, identifying key economic pillars. Agriculture, it used to be the engine of the economy, but with technology enhancements and the transformation put in the agricultural sector, gave us a capacity to increase our productivity. And we all know that I was intentionally mentioning about the media. We all know that Ethiopia was known by 1984 famine. And immediately I arrived in London, there was this argument by some media people to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the 1984. But Ethiopia has been transformed so much, and now it's the largest and the top producer of wheat in Africa. We are exporting wheat to other African countries. That is the agricultural sector transformation we have been observing. The other one is tourism. We have the potential of a combination of tourist sites in Ethiopia, cultural, natural, religious, and the civilization that I have been mentioning. But we haven't been harnessing that one. So that is one intervention area, building infrastructure in the tourism sector and promoting the tourism sector so that we can get our fair share from the tourist numbers in the region. The third one is the mining sector, including gold. We used to exploiting the sector in a more traditional way. By modernizing the sector, we are increasing the revenue that we can get from that sector. So mining is a jackpot for Ethiopia's economic transformation. The other one is ICT sector, which is, you might really witness how the Ethiopian economy can be really relying on the ICT sector, transforming the economy in different sectors. Energy, it's one of the most endowed renewable energy in Africa. Ethiopia and the DRC can electrify the whole of Ethiopia, the whole of Africa. So we are using that one as a foundation for our economy, as an instrument, as a tool to enhance regional integration. We are building the largest dam, as I said. We just completed the dam. There are also other hydroelectric projects that have been completed in the past. So we are exporting electricity to Kenya, Sudan. Even though it's in a difficult situation, we are still exporting electricity to Sudan. South Sudan, we are finalizing agreement. Through Kenya, we are just last month we start exporting electricity to Tanzania. So it enhances regional cooperation, it enhances regional development by exploiting our energy sector, not only hydro, but solar, wind, and geothermal are the combination of the clean energy sector we have. Also, these data mining companies are looking in Ethiopia, having that cheapest energy, electricity. So there is a huge investment and on-the-ground investments in the data mining sectors as well.
Thank you. I think it's in the UK you can become accustomed to stable energy, electricity, stable internet, but they're foundational to helping a society get on with things, isn't it?
If I may add on that, of course we are producing energy and we are connecting our energy exports to different countries, but still there is a gap in terms of efficiency, efficient production of electricity, efficient use of electricity energy as well. So to reduce that wastage, there needs to be an intervention in the ICT and digital areas as well. So there is an area that we can really harness and really collaborate in terms of how best we can efficiently use the energy that we produce rather than, losing much of the energy that we are producing with a lack of efficiency in that part of production.
Yeah, makes sense. So Ethiopia is attracting a significant amount of foreign investments. What is in your opinion, what is the appeal that's driving investors to the country?
I mentioned Africa intentionally. It's the largest market. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area is the largest free trade area in Africa. So if you install an industry in Africa, you can bring some of the raw materials, the inputs from other African countries, assemble in Ethiopia, export the larger markets. That's one, the largest African market. Ethiopia by itself is 120 million as we speak, and the number of population is growing exponentially. So the local market is really huge. That's another factor. The other one, the connectivity. You can reach out half of the world within 8 hours of flight with a good connection of Ethiopian Airlines, one of the best airline in the world. That is also another asset. The potential, the use that are really driving the economic transformation is another factor as well. So there are a combination of factors that investors can really get into Ethiopia. I said Ethiopia is a gateway to Africa. Historically, it was a country that has never been colonized, that was supporting other African countries to get their independence, and the seat of African Union. The headquarters of African Union is in Ethiopia. Mostly 180 to 90 embassies are residing in Ethiopia. So you can easily get African countries, other countries while you are sitting in Addis Ababa. So it's really a suitable place to have an investment, to have a connection, to really expand your network in other African countries as well.
And so the Prime Minister, something that's close to our heart, is the Prime Minister's launched an initiative to train 5 million coders over the coming years. Can you explain what the vision is and what's driving that requirement?
Yes, the vision is to create a digitally skilled labor force. So, as I said, it is the youth constitutes 60 to 70% of our population. There are universities, but this IT skill should be implanted from the very foundation stage. So once you have that skill, you can develop through time, through education, through technology, transfer through skill development and training. So that is, the intention is to expand the base and have a very wide base for these IT skills. So it has been launched last year, and this year the first batch of graduates were from universities, from elementary schools, even from government institutions. They got their first stage of certificates. They have been graduate. They have that basic skill. So we will enhance that kind of training for really the wider base of our population. When we go to government offices, in terms of giving services, I think there has to be some kind of tech-savvy kind of service giving activities. So having that basic skill is really critical for the general digital transformation aspired or visioned by the government.
Makes sense. And we've started interviewing, I'll say 5 million, but we've started interviewing quite a number of graduates from this pot. And so, I mean, clearly we are interested in not only creating a delivery center in Ethiopia to support our international projects, but we are looking forward to seeing how we can help solve some problems and challenges or help meet the aspirations of Ethiopia's transformational objectives. In what sequence can Kagool support those digital initiatives to effectively address Ethiopia's transformative challenges?
Yes, we have challenges. I try to mention, especially the skills gap, the training gap. Though we have the basic foundation, we need to compete with the modern technology. Technology is really dynamic and really update day by day. So that intervention area is really critical. The government has put in place its 2025 strategy, and we aspire the digitalization of government services as well to ease doing of business, to have a competitive business environment in that part of the world. So one, the skill training development area is one really critical area that can be, formed a collaboration and partnership with Kagool. The other one, my prime minister was speaking during the AU summit, and Africa should have its own data center. So working closely with our governments in Africa, there is huge need to have that strong data center in Africa as well. So that's another area that we can collaborate and Kagool can intervene immediately. The other one is there is a very strong and robust AI center which you have visited, and we need to really work together with the AI center as well as securing the cyber world in terms of, we were talking about the energy sector. It has to be secured in order to have, smooth and efficient transmission of energy to not only in Ethiopia, to other African countries. So the cyber world is another area that can be really collaboratively work with our robust institutions in Ethiopia. So there are really key areas that you have started to looking into, but I would say it is the training and skill gap areas that can be really worked on and get the best out of our collaborative approach.
Excellent. So training, infrastructure, cyber, AI. Understood. And finally, are there any flagship digital projects or government initiatives that you'd like to highlight for potential collaboration?
The government has launched this national digital ID, which someone was mentioning. In fact, it's a government-owned project. It's a large project aspiring to have our 100+ million people to have a digital IT, to have an integrated system for other service delivery areas. So that's it. That might be one other area that we can really look into where the gaps we can explore. The other area is we have opened our economy quite recently. The logistics sector, the service sector, the finance sector, they were opened quite recently, not more than, I think, 3, 4, 5 months. Yes, the maximum is 6 months. So the financial sector, the financial transaction area, the security area, it needs really greater focus, and that's a flagship projects being led by different companies in Ethiopia. So there is that needs to focus and work on those areas. The digital payments, really, we're opening the banking sector. We're inviting, including the banks from the UK. So the digital payment area is one flagship project that can be explored. The 5 million coders, in terms of building on what the government has started, that will be one other area in fetching the talents, in building on what they have get, the basic knowledge, and really developing on that area as well. Development of smart cities. We are building Addis Ababa, we are building other 5 to 6 mega cities in Bahardar, in the eastern part in Jijiga and Redwaya, the southern parts Hawassa and Arbamink, and in the western part is Jimma. So these are smart cities, mega cities. That is one area that can be really looked into and explored in terms of supporting how these cities can be really smart cities, as the name takes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And then it's my turn, because Dan has been in Ethiopia, and I would like to. I was telling you about Africa, about Ethiopia, and it's good to listen from a person who have his foot on the ground, rather than simply listening the policy representative, because we are preaching mostly the positive side of the stories. So from your visit in Addis, what are your takeaways as an investment opportunity? Oh, I hope you won't repeat what I was.
No, we're not going to be building any hydroelectric dams, that's for sure. Well, my takeaways. Well, I think we were there for 8, 9 days, and I think we came away from that with the button pressed to start legal entity set up, office set up, hiring plans, and so on. And we did that for a reason, because we saw clear opportunity there. I mean, just rewinding the plot 2 years ago, why did we set up a presence in the UAE, in Dubai? We did that because we saw investment there. We saw governments investing. We saw private sector investing, and we went there because we could add value to those organizations and help the company grow as part of that journey. And I personally see the same thing in Ethiopia. I saw a drive for whole scale change, infrastructure change, properties, digital, electrical infrastructure, you name it. Everything is being developed there. When we all took away that feeling, and it literally has everything going for it. It's got a pipeline of educated, young, really hungry talent, and I mean really hungry young people, fresh out of university, absolutely driven to work on exciting modern IT projects. You've got that's on the labour side. On the private and public sector side, you've got drives in the same way that we saw in the UAE two years ago, and still a drive to actually modernize. And then you can have all that, but without money, that these things don't happen. You can see the World Bank, the IMF, various countries around the world investing in that in Ethiopia to help it accelerate those transformational initiatives. And it just needs some good companies in there with that's done this kind of thing before, that can sit in the middle and support the growth of those hiring of those of those graduates, putting them against, add some skilled people in there as well, and then drive them against some of the different types of projects, initiatives that you referred to. So I think it's a really exciting time. You've got, for those that are not aware, the ambassador mentioned a number of different reforms that's happened in Ethiopia. The most recent one, January, was the opening of the securities exchange. So that opens up. It's only January, a month and a bit ago. That opens up Ethiopia for international banks to go there. So I think it's Barclays and Lloyds are the first banks. And those banks aren't just going there to open current accounts. They're going there to kind of invest and help develop their credit economy and things like that. So that's like a big major kickstart. Imagine, for those of you that are around or can remember during the credit crunch in the Western world, 2007 and so on, when credit is not available in an economy, it grinds to a standstill significantly. And what's happening is the opposite thing in Ethiopia. That credit is going to start flowing now, and that's just going to rapidly. You'll see things grow exponentially. And again, that's only January that law passed, and then but before that, last year there was a reform which essentially, and again the ambassador mentioned it, opens up Ethiopia for international private sector investment. So that allows companies like us to set up there in an easy way and invest and do the things that we want to do, the same things that we've done in all the other countries. So all of those things together just looks, as a jigsaw piece puzzle. You look at the wider picture, and I can see the foundations of a great place to invest in.
Yeah, thank you. Focusing on the younger generation, if you really say a little bit more about the tech pools you found during your visit.
Yeah. So what did we? So we did in our visit. We went to a number of different institutions. The AI Institute, one called INSA, which is like MI5, and we spoke to a wide range of technical resources, graduates, juniors, all the way through to very seniors. And I was surprised. I was really surprised. I was very surprised at the high skill of the senior people. Should I have been surprised? I don't know. But it was, I think I was born in the 70s, so I was, as you mentioned about the famine in the 1980s, you have these preconceptions, don't you? And so I'd never been to Africa before, so this is my first trip. And seeing Ethiopia as an industrialized, modern city, and listening to for everyone's benefit, the MI5 version in Ethiopia called INSA, they've built their own applications. So they've built their own email system, they've built their own antivirus system, their own firewalls, their own VPN systems, you name it. They build their own laptops, they build their own servers, everything they own, operating systems, you name it, the whole thing. They don't rely on anything independently from like the West or China or wherever. And I was amazed, absolutely amazed. And to be able to do all of that and be self-contained, and when we were quizzing them about how they do it and so on, it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So I think that from a senior technical capability, got that. And then when we start talking to the younger either junior or graduate individuals. You know, again, all the skills are there, and more importantly, the attitude is there. Because I think we touched upon this at lunch about our universities churning out graduates with the right skill sets to be employed. And I look at we've got the best universities in the world on our doorstep, and all the people that we've hired, they join us out of university having learned a range of different IT skills, which is essentially irrelevant for us. Big reason for that is because technology changes so quickly, so quickly. Even our senior people are having to keep up and retrain every 12 months in new things that are coming out, new variants of these cloud technologies. So it's very difficult. So the most important thing is, especially when we're talking about the younger generation of graduates, is it's not so much have they learned the right technologies at university, but have they got the hunger and drive to learn and attitude to learn more, work hard. And everything that I've seen, all the interviews that have taken place, myself and a number of other colleagues here, have all said the same thing.
Great. So we were talking about, when we were talking about Ethiopia, we were saying it's a gateway to Africa. And for sure, it's not the end of your journey while investing in Ethiopia, while engaging with Ethiopia. So what is your vision for Africa in the coming 10 years or beyond?
So we've always wanted to expand into Africa, but it's the same way that we expanded into the Middle East, but it's quite difficult. I mean, we were very lucky when we expanded into the Middle East for a number of reasons. And to kind of rock up in Africa and then suddenly make a success of it, it's quite difficult because it's a rather large landmass and lots of countries to move into. So I think we're very fortunate with the how the discussions arose, which started in October, which has led us to Ethiopia as being our starting position. And we're fortunate in the fact that we can, with modern technology, people can work from anywhere. And there are very few people, in fact, no one in this room operates on a client site. And so everybody works on remote projects, whether that's remote projects in the UK, Mexico, Brazil, wherever, USA. So, modern technology allows you to be anywhere. And so we've got an opportunity to set up in Ethiopia and have that be just a delivery center from day one, from say March, April time, supporting projects in the UAE and the USA. So that's what we'll be doing initially. Now, we will be hiring some salespeople, and they'll be starting in next month, and they'll be helping to develop the sales pipeline to deliver projects to win and then deliver projects in the Ethiopia region. Now, Ethiopia, as you mentioned before, it plays a key role in the African continent and in the African Union, and we want to make a success of delivering digital transformation in Ethiopia and then leverage that relationship Ethiopia has with the wider African nation to then help promote and deliver, scale out into the wider Africa region. So that will be the plan, because Ethiopia plays a very key role in the whole of Africa, politically, militarily, economically, peacekeeper. We can really support with all aspects of supporting that relationship. So hopefully in say years 2 or 3, we can start looking at wider Africa beyond Ethiopia. But I think it does make sense to have Ethiopia as the single delivery center to support all of that where possible.
It's exciting.
Just while you're speaking about Ethiopia, I just saw the map where we see Kenya and Uganda. I was just mentioning this morning.
Yeah.
So we recently won a very large SAP ERP transformation program for 17 countries. And Kenya and Uganda are part of that implementation. It happened to be the neighboring country of Ethiopia. So we're already talking about cluster of some Western African countries. So I think things are moving in the right direction.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Exactly.
Thank you.
So you're saying we've actually got headcount requirement to support our first African project. Okay, so we've got some questions in the audience. Kevin?
I'm South African, so a bit of bias. I know about it. I went to university with Ethiopians, so I know how tech savvy they are. I guess it's a two-part question. One is Ethiopia done particularly well over the last few decades as a rapidly growing country. From your perspective, what sectors do you think have led to that growth? And then from an external position, what opportunities are there for external or foreign investment?
Thank you so much. We used to follow a developmental states policy for the past couple weeks. And then we were focusing on agriculture, as I said. That was an engine of growth. The other one is investing on infrastructure, road, railway, including the inverter. We are investing that one. That really drives the growth that have been registered in the past couple of years. But it was largely driven by a public investment. Manufacturing was there, but that was not supported by the necessary technology, the necessary finance and other elements to have a productive, to have a really a good result from the sector. The laser and laser products, the agro processing, all been there, but it needs to be really unlocked by the private sector. Now, since 2018, the economic reform program has given a leverage for the private sector, and the government has identified 5 sectors, as I said. Agriculture is one, because in terms of land mass, there are 18 agroecological zones in Ethiopia that you can grow anything. But we need to add value for our agricultural products. Simply coffee, Ethiopia is an origin of coffee. We boost. But our export is not as much as we would like to see, because we just export raw beans. So we have to add value for our coffee products. Avocado, we've started to produce. We had that lack of logistics that was mentioned. Even though we have a very good connection with Ethiopian Airlines, there has to be a refrigerator, other technologies that we can easily export our products. So agriculture and processing is one critical area that will stay as a backbone of our economic growth. The other one is manufacturing. Laser products, these are the traditional sectors in that sector, but pharmaceutical industry is another one. It's a young, youth generation, a youth continent, and we need to really have an intervention in the pharmaceutical sector as well. The other one is electric vehicles. These are new areas in the manufacturing sector. Probably it's one of the countries that have really banned importing fuel cars in Ethiopia, 100% banned to import. So the electric manufacturing sector is becoming really growing. We have the energy, the necessary energy production, combination of various energy sources. So it's really suitable for electric energy as well. The other one is tourism. We have that lack of infrastructure in the tourism sector. So the necessary investment on infrastructure building for the tourism sector is on place. We are re-innovating the old tourism sites and building another new sites. So combining that one and also spearheading to design regional tourism strategies for the regions like Kenya. They have a very good number of tourists. Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda. You can easily, get your fair share from the tourists now from there. Mining and ICT are the other sectors that would drive our economy in the coming 10 years. These are the critical areas identified by the government.
Oscar's got a question.
Yeah. So my question kind of builds on your response there with a couple of opposite terms. So one of the biggest challenges Ethiopia faces in the actual implementation of digital initiatives, and how can the private sector collaboration help overcome them? And I think the focus there is on the actual implementation element and the private sector specifically.
Yeah. The critical gaps, I was saying, in all sectors is finance and skill. Skill, in essence, we have the necessary foundations, graduates from different universities. That was a very good success for the couple of decades, the couple of years in the past. And each region have its own universities and higher educators. So the number of graduates is really high, but they need to get the necessary skill in terms of, having that productivity level. So skill gap is one, and the other one is finance, of course. So the private sector contributes in bringing new technology, in bringing new skill, training, and also finance, so that they can really support the government's drive to change the country's trajectory. So I would say the finance and skill gaps training are the most important critical areas. Technology and digitalization also falls in that speed.
Thank you. Pankaj?
My question is around the technology and innovations. So, what role do you see technology and innovation should play in economic growth of Ethiopia in the next few decades?
We have been registering double-digit economic growth for the past, before 2018, because there was a huge public investment. Now we have been shifting to the private sector. And in the next coming 10 years or so, technology is one area that can be seen as enabler to, hasten or quicken the economic development that we want to see in different various sectors. For example, I was mentioning the tourism sector and how technology can leverage that tourism sector in order to easily and efficiently promote the tourism sector, other than, the tourists or the going physically to Ethiopia, they can easily really know how the potential of Ethiopia is. E-governance systems, the financial sector as well. We are opening the financial sector after 5 decades. The stock market was launched, the regulatory mechanism, the cybersecurity, generally to facilitate the smooth operation of service sectors can be facilitated through technology. So it has an overarching influence and contribution in the various sectors in identified by the government. Agriculture technology has really immense impacts in the agricultural sector as well. Delivery of seeds, easily pesticides with using technologies, drones and other like that. So technology has really huge impact in different sectors, and we see and identified by the government that this is a critical area that we should capitalize on that.
Thank you.
Sir, I have a question. You mentioned previously importance of startups. And my question would be, what role do startups and innovation hubs play in the digital transformation, and how they can be better supported?
That is the area we can get really solutions for our colleagues. So that's where the government really focusing on investing in the startup, because in every sector we have identified there are problems, there are gaps. So that startups can come there, identify the gaps and create solutions on that area. So by adopting a regulation in order to support the startups area, government starts from there to intervene and support the startups area, knowing that that is a solution we can get for our economic development. I was mentioning about training and skill development. Once we identify the gaps, once we have the solutions, there we can capitalize on those to really develop the creative solutions come from the startups, so that we can really develop and use in various economic sectors. So that is where the government is really focusing and really preparing regulation to support the startups.
Just pull your mouth again. Sorry, just 1 second there. So while we was inside, a number of time, a number of the different ministries that were really keen on supporting Kagool going into the country to obviously establish itself and deliver government-led projects. However, they were really keen on us supporting and partnering with startups to help them grow as well. So to create a healthy partner ecosystem, and not just have another reasonably big company come in and start working on all those projects and crowding them out. So startups have got a key role to play in all economies. I mean, we were a startup once upon a time. Startups normally form because they see a niche in the market, a gap in the market. So I think it's important that we look at how we can help support them and work in a partner-friendly way, which we do anyway. Sorry, Dimi.
So, we know how important internet is in current times, right? So, whether it's respect to connectivity, networking, whatever, right? So, my question is, what infrastructure investments are being made to improve internet connectivity and digital access across Ethiopia, especially in rural areas?
Yes, probably one of our success stories is Ethio Telecom. It's the largest telecom provider in Africa. So in terms of infrastructure, the expansion in different regions is really remarkable. And recently, the telecom sector was open to the private sector, and Safaricom entered to Ethiopian market. It gives an element of competition to have effective service for the customers. So that connectivity, that infrastructure, and that expansion gives for the population, for different regions to have that inclusivity in service providing and service getting efficient services. 80+ million mobile subscribers for Ethio Telecom, and the number of mobile subscribers and internet subscribers for Safaricom is increasing. So there is a competition there, and soon there will be another opening for the telecom sector, license opening for the third telecom sector. So it gives really huge opportunity for competition and connectivity, so that it will really contribute for the growth of the economy as well.
Thank you very much. So much. Well, yeah. So I think to wrap up now, I think I'd like to say a huge thank you, Mr. Ambassador, Lalisa, Mr. Nebiyou, Mr. Mulu, Gata, for coming here today. It's been an absolute pleasure and fascinating panel discussion, and really great discussions when we were talking about our updates earlier on in the boardroom. So big thank you for everyone at Kagool. And we would like to give you a gift from when I was over in Ethiopia. I was given some gifts, so only appropriate to and they were Ethiopian gifts, so we had to hunt around to try and find out what is an English gift to give. So thank you very much. Oh, a bit of move. Which way? Right. Oh, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So much.
Go. Go. Got to squeeze on the stage now. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Miss Nebiyou. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
Go on. This will be the only picture we'll have of you without your sunglasses on. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for attending this. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you so much, really. It was a remarkable journey so far. It's very short, but really huge results so far. And we are committed ourselves to support you with what you are aspiring to within Ethiopia as well as in Africa. And myself and my team are there for you to support. And it's a remarkable journey, and we hope, as we say, your investment in Ethiopia will be a gateway to Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.